Hey everyone, it of course is Mica, and I want to apologize first and foremost because I'm feeling a little under the weather, which is why this video took a little bit longer, and also why I probably sound kind of weird, so apologies in advance. But I'm having a really quirky year overall. Normally I don't buy games until prices have dropped quite a bit on them. I didn't even buy God of War until just this last Christmas when it was on that nice Christmas sale. But I found myself backing not one, but two up and coming MMOs this year. I've done videos on their previous one, but now it's time for me to say I finally bit the bullet and backed Pantheon: Rise of the Fallen. I think it should be stated first that a lot of this footage is from a pre-alpha state. The game will be much more refined graphically at launch, and we've even seen that in some of the more recent footage, so please don't be put off by the graphics alone. For those of you not in the know, Pantheon is a high fantasy MMO set in the world of Terminus, currently in development by Visionary Realms, and it's not trying to reinvent the wheel or making any grandeur promises about how it's going to change absolutely everything. On the contrary, the developers are more concerned with bringing back that old school MMO feel, but giving it a whole new modern take and focusing on the community, which is a sorely lacking thing in a lot of current games. Pantheon has been in my peripheral for a long time now, and I've heard it mentioned here and there. I've seen videos pop up on my feed, and it always seemed interesting, but I never really gave it more than a cursory glance at best. I mean, there are so many MMOs coming out and competing for our attention that I fell prey to not paying too much attention to anything that just doesn't throw something shiny my way. I will say though that I've always enjoyed the artwork because it's a real throwback to those 80s fantasy novels. I actually still collect Forgotten Realms books, and man do I miss the art style. It's so much fun. But even with only trickles of information coming here and there, I started to learn more and more about Pantheon, and the more I learned, the more interested I became. And just recently, my interest was so great that my wallet just kind of fell open and a pledge was made. So let's take a gander at just a few of the reasons that got me to drop way more money on a game than I normally do, other than the fact that I love alpha and beta testing new games. That's always a perk, it's so much fun. I pulled a lot of this information off their own website, so if anything piques your interest and you want to put a pledge in of your own, it is all linked below. First things first, the game is all done in-house. They have no big corporate backing, no suits behind a desk that have never even touched a game hovering over them, because it's a great way to make a lot of cash fast. This is a group of people who are more concerned about the experience than getting multi-million-dollar quarterly bonuses. I mean, yeah, they do need to make money, so it has to be a consideration. But a lot of things wrong with gaming today, in my opinion anyway, stem from someone trying to make a quick buck and people who are just not concerned about the long-term lifespan of an IP or gaming in general. The dev team has quite the resume as well. I'm not going to go into all the details on what each one of them have done, but it's quite impressive when you take a look at it. There's a whole lot of experience and talent behind the curtain. But let's go ahead and take a look at the game itself, because the team behind Pantheon is not, like I said earlier, just trying to recreate the MMO. Instead, they're trying to bring back a lot of the things that made old school MMOs so great, but giving them a more modern polish. They're not trying to make a purely old school game full of crazy grinds. I mean, this will be a modern gaming experience. They're just going to bring back some of those old school elements that have been abandoned by a lot of companies these days. For instance, one of the things that made old games so good was the actual community. You had to play with others. There were no dungeon finders and jobs that could do everything, and this created a community and forged a whole lot of strong friendships. I myself still have friends I made back in 2005 while journeying through Vana'diel. Community is a large part of old school games, as was your reputation. They did say there was going to be solo content, but the focus is the group content. The world is going to be dangerous and changing. The mobs will be more difficult. It'll be safer to run in packs than trying to brave everything alone, with combat that'll be more tactical than just the pure Zerg we see so often nowadays. But wait a minute, let's go back to that world will be more dangerous part. Because it will be, but not like we remember. That's where the modern polish comes in. Because we remember a dangerous world is one littered with mobs that would chase you down and kill you dead. But in Pantheon, they want to make the zones themselves dangerous, not just what's in them. The impact of the players will be felt with dynamic events that will change the zones in certain ways. For instance, killing certain mobs may trigger an event, however the world will not be static. Events can and will change the world in various ways and vice versa. The Groundhog Day concept is being completely tossed out. But that's not even the funnest part, because much like we remember from older games, things like the weather will have effects on spells and abilities, and sometimes even be dangerous to the player. Some zones will have conditions that will make certain spells completely unusable or more powerful, and sometimes the zones will be completely inhospitable to players who are not acclimated to them. They're also, thankfully in my opinion, going back to that whole gear matters school of thought, and not necessarily just your eye level. Gear will be situational, and when you get a piece they said they want you to remember it and be excited that you actually got it. So I would take that as gear not being as throwaway as it is in so many newer games. I don't really think it's going to be as situational as it was in Final Fantasy XI, where you had to macro gear changes in for pretty much every ability, but some pieces will be more helpful than others in certain situations or battles. Classes are going to get that old school treatment too. Every class will not be able to do every single little thing, and each will be unique. This of course means that some classes are going to be more sought after. Balancing is hard to perfect after all, but I mean modern games with classes that are basically reskins of each other also have this issue. There's just no getting away from it. But each is going to have its own feel, it's going to have its own contribution. You're going to have your standard tank, healer, and DPS roles, but they're also bringing back the utility or crowd control role, which I am super excited for. That's definitely my preferred role, and it just doesn't seem to exist anymore. I played a whole lot of Bard in Final Fantasy XI, which was a pure crowd control role, and yeah, it's a hoot. And although I'm not sure how leveling is going to work exactly, they did state there's going to be a lot of stuff to do on the way up to level cap. The game's not going to be top heavy. It's going to have content designed for lower levels and mid levels, and there's even going to be a level sync sort of system so you can help your lower level friends. As for the cost, there will be a box cost and a subscription, but honestly, I like the fact that it has a sub. I know there's so many people out there who don't like that model at all, and I can completely understand why. But me, I like my MMOs to have subs, just because it allows a steady stream of income to the developer, so they're able to turn that into a steady stream of content. Or at least, that's what we hope. Also, as much time as I spend in MMOs compared to single player games, a sub is nothing if the game has enough content to keep me occupied. I don't know exactly how much Pantheon sub is going to be, but let's say for instance $15 a month. And that goes for tens if not hundreds of hours of playtime, versus $60 for another game that delivers maybe 30 to 60 hours total. I mean, I think that's a pretty good deal, especially, and it's a big one, no cash shop. Oh, you have no idea how much I love the fact that they have no cash shop. I loathe cash shops. Sure, they're not all bad, and not all of them get out of hand with monetizing mounts, skins, and all that. It gets annoying, especially in a game with a box cost and a subscription model. Some games like The Elder Scrolls Online make up for it by giving you store credit equal to your sub fee, but other games like Final Fantasy XIV and WoW just take it way too far. Love that the cash shop is not even on the table. There are honestly so many things I could tell you about Pantheon that this video could go on, and I'll be making other videos for sure, especially since it's so strong in my sights now. But before I lose my voice, here's a few last quick-fire things to whet your appetite. Death will mean something and should be avoided. Battles will focus more on tactics than just DPS races. There will be an emphasis on exploration that will go above and beyond just looking for quest markers. Not all abilities and spells will just be handed to you as you level, some you may have to work for. There will be PvE, PvP, and RP servers. Dungeons will not be instanced, all dungeons are going to be open world. The game is already fully funded and well into development. There will be no housing at launch, it's planned, but they want to get it right before implementation. And finally, they're bringing back the "with great risk comes great reward" philosophy. Seriously, check this game out and follow them on social media. They often post questions to their followers to get a better feel for what the community is looking for in an MMO, and they have live streams where they show you the current state of things. It's all really great and fun to watch. For now, that's it for me. I'm going to be making other Pantheon videos as more information comes out, and maybe just for fun here and there. The package I bought gives me access to alpha, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe, and if you want to talk about Pantheon, hit me up in the comments below. But as per the usual, it's been a hoot, and until next time, have fun.